There's an interesting thing that took place the other day, and there's a fight that is going on, and there's a fight that's going on that is actually a pretty good fight. Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren has been pushing Joe Biden on this issue of 50,000 or eliminating $50,000 in student loans. If I may speak so boldly and speak for the entirety of African Americans, that's not to say that all African Americans agree with me, but it is to say that the majority would likely agree with me, especially in this country, that despite Joe Biden willing, entirely willing, to cater to blacks in theatrical terms during the primaries and during the main election, Joe Biden, the man that was presented as king of blacks by Clyburn, at the very least, is failing those same blacks. To put it more plainly, Democrats need black supporters to get elected, and yet they don't want to support those supporters. There's a problem there. The problem and the reason is really straightforward. In the 60s, African Americans were put in positions of authority, and being put into those positions of authority, it was a mind-blowing thing. Whoa, they just put that black man into that position of secretary, or in that particular job, or in that particular faculty of government. That is mind-blowing, that's edgy. You even had the situation where in the movies, Captain Kirk kissing Uhura. And if you notice, they didn't even let him kiss her on his own steam. They had to have a being to force Captain Kirk to kiss Uhura, because again, it was the first kiss between a white man and a black woman on camera. You have the same thing with Cisco starting as commander, not captain, because the thought was that whites wouldn't accept him as captain. Or OJ running through the airport, and they're saying, wait a minute, do we really want OJ to do this? Because if you do, people may think he's running from the cops because he's a black man. I'm being serious, all of this is true. The thing is, though, people get acclimated to it. They get acclimated to African Americans being in a position of authority. They get acclimated to Cisco being part of the best, at the very least in the last 3 or 4 years, of the best Star Trek and captain of that particular station. And yeah, they get used to African Americans and white couples, or African Americans and whites in relationships. Joe Biden even mentioned this at the debate. People hit him for this, but Joe Biden on some level is right about this. Media and entertainment has jumped on board for obvious reasons. It doesn't cost them anything. One, it expands the number of people they can cater to, and it expands their bottom dollar. It's a business decision. From the standpoint of politics, though, Joe Biden, Democrats, have been stuck in history on this. They're stuck in the past on this. And I would make the point that blacks are also. We need to go beyond the shiny object phase. Putting Kamala Harris up is nice. But again, as I speak for my kin here, it's unnecessary. Give us health care. Keep Kamala Harris. Give us student loan relief. Keep Kamala Harris. If you want to really get rid of the gap between blacks and whites in regards to income, or for that matter, if you want to help a large share of the people at the bottom, and I gotta be honest, I don't care if they're white, black, gay, straight, or something in between, you can do so by eliminating student debt. The people at the bottom will be the people who will benefit the most. And whereas there are more whites that are in poverty, blacks are in a desperate level of that poverty. You could do this with one flick of a pen, in the way Chuck Schumer says. And on this, I'm being specific. Look, personally, I've made the argument that the people deserve Medicare for all because of the malfeasance of the government. Basically, it was the government's fault that nearly 500,000 people have died from COVID, or for that matter, 27 million are infected with COVID. It is entirely the government's fault. It was a malfeasance. Now, you can put that at the doorstep of Trump, but Trump was working in capacity of president of the United States. And this notion of preserving or the behalf of the whole did not apply. It's deserved. It's owed. And if your name is Joe Biden and you're running to get elected and you can't get elected without the African American support in the numbers that they support, 90% for Hillary Clinton, 90% for like Joe Biden. And the best that you offer is the theatrical shiny object of Kamala Harris, who's half Indian, if I may bring that up. I guess I'm making the very basic point that if you want black support, and if blacks support the Democratic Party, they should not do so for nothing. They should not be a perfunctory choice. It should be a choice that you make because the party is doing something on your behalf. And on some level, this falls to a responsibility of blacks themselves. If when Joe Biden was running, you didn't accept Biden unless Medicare for all was on the table, unless elimination of student debt was on the table. Again, I don't care that it helps the lion's share of the population. The majority of the people that will be benefited by that are the poor and the middle class. And yet, Joe Biden, his argumentation against this, avoids that very basic point. Let's hear the first clip. This is Joe Biden at the town hall. Notice Joe Biden says, I am willing to go big. Let's play the clip, Andre.
To passing $1.9 trillion bill, or is that final number still up for negotiation?
I'm committed to pass. Look, here's some of you are probably economists or college professors or you teach it in school. This is the first time in my career, and as you can tell, I'm over 30, the first time in my career that there is a consensus among economists left, right, and center that is and including the IMF and in Europe, that the overwhelming consensus is in order to grow the economy a year, 2, 3, and 4 down the line, we can't spend too much. Now's the time we should be spending. Now's the time to go big.
Let's stop right there.
You may recall,
now is the time to go big. And what Biden makes the point of basically that during the Obama administration, he realized that by going too paltry in regards to the stimulus, that he basically undermined themselves in regards to trying to get the economy up and running. Good. I was like, yes, Joe Biden, on some level, even though it's not enough, he at the very least kind of gets it. But then he says this. Let's play the next clip about the 50K.
Loans are crushing my family, friends, and fellow Americans.
Me too.
The American dream is to succeed, but how can we fulfill that dream when debt is many people's only option for a degree? We need student loan forgiveness beyond the potential $10,000 your administration has proposed. We need at least a $50,000 minimum. What will you do to make that happen?
I will not make that happen.
Okay, stop it right there.
Depends on
He's very blunt.
not.
I would not make that happen. The catch is Joe Biden has every power in the world to do this. As Chuck Schumer says, with a flick of a pen. Congress has granted, Congress has granted Secretary of Education the legal authority to broadly cancel student loan debt under Section 432A of the Higher Education Act of 1956, which grants the Secretary the authority to modify, compromise, waive, or release the right, title, claim, lien, or demand, however required, including any equity or any right of redemption. The Department of Education has used this authority to implement modest relief for federal loan borrowers during the COVID-19 pandemic. This was used by Obama and it was used by Trump. But this power also allows them to eliminate student debt in its entirety, or the compromise 50K right here. This resolution recognizes the Secretary of Education's broad administrative authority to cancel federal student loan debt under the existing authorities of Section 432A. It calls on the President of the United States to take executive action to administratively cancel up to $50,000 federal student loan debt for federal student loan borrowers using existing legal authorities. It encourages the President of the United States to take executive action to use the executive's authority to use the Internal Revenue Code 1986 to ensure there's no tax liability. Because if they did that and got rid of the student loans, the federal government, meaning the IRS, will go after those students for the amount of those loans, saying that because the federal government got rid of it, it constitutes income that the individual got. And the IRS will go after those people. Joe Biden has every authority in the world to do this. The fact of the matter is there is no reason not to do this. If he is indeed running with this idea of king of blacks and I'm fighting for African Americans and all this other stuff, start here. You have the power to do it. You want to go big, start here. Shane, what are your thoughts? We only have a minute or so because at this point we went very, very long in the first part. But yeah, we have a few minutes or so because the other guest is going to be running late. What's your thoughts?